In today's video, I'm going to be looking at using Adobe XD to redesign the Steam sign up or create an account page. This week I'm bringing back the design and code challenge that I started not too long ago. I've just done one on it, but the last one was just a complete failure, so I want to do it more in the spirit of what I'd wanted. So the last one, I managed to design everything in one day, but it took me 7 videos to actually code it, and it wasn't even really finished. So that was a little disappointing. So my plan for this one is to do something that I can design in one day and to code in a separate video. So that'd be next week. And I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think to pull this off, I need to focus on something smaller instead of an entire page. And sign up forms, I think, are a fun thing to design. There's lots of little elements in there. So we're going to be redesigning Steam's sign up page or create an account page. I'm a big fan of Steam. I like playing games when I can. Not much time for it these days, but their website could be better, to say the least. And their sign up form to me is really lacking, and I think it'd be fun to give it sort of a revamp and make it look like something cool. So we're going to be using Adobe XD to do this. It's free if you want to try and follow along. And because I'm focusing on something smaller, I'm going to be able to talk a little bit more about the ideas and concepts I'm doing, as well as just how Adobe XD is working and all of that. Before we actually get into Adobe XD though, why don't we head over to Steam's existing page now just to see what they actually have and maybe talk about some improvements we can make, and then we'll be jumping over to XD to do all of that.
Okay, so here we are on Steam's actual website. And the main thing I just want to sort of point out is that they don't really want us to create an account on their page. They want us to install their app instead, which is really obvious because this is, apart from their little sales things, this is the only thing in green. So it's sort of grabbing our attention. So they want us to do that, but I'm going to pretend they don't, and they want us to create an account. So if we click to log in, you can see we get to this sign up thing here, and then under sign up, we finally get to this create an account thing. And I can go over to join Steam, and then over here on finally, we get to create account. But even here, I find it kind of awkward. I don't really like the layout, and it's, your email again, your country, and then a really annoying one of these things, which are kind of outdated these days, the full license agreement and everything. And just, I find Steam's website in general could use a facelift, but they're obviously doing okay for themselves. So, but just the font size are a bit small. The leading is, or the line height here is just really, really tight. So there's some things that I think could be improved, and that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to be trying to stick with their color scheme more or less. I'm not going to be super rigid on it, but I'm going to be sticking with the blues at the very least. I like the gradient they have in the background, and the blues I think work fine. Things that I don't like, I'm not going to be using their font. I'm going to be doing a different font. I am going to be sticking with their colors. So the green, there actually is no green. Like, why is this continue button now blue when everywhere else they have sort of their green button? So stuff like that, that is bugging me a little bit. Yeah, so we're going to be sort of sticking with it and like this make-believe facelift. So they didn't completely revamp, but I'm going to be using new fonts and different font sizes and stuff. So what I'm creating won't look like it would belong here, but it wouldn't necessarily look super out of place either. So let's jump on over to XD and start designing all that. So what I've actually done here, I've created a new document over here in XD, and what I've done is taken a screenshot here of what we were just looking at, so we can just use that for some reference on colors and layout a little bit when we get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a box here, and just to give us a background color, and so just with the box tool, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to turn off the border because annoyingly everything comes with a border by default in XD. And then on my fill, I'm just going to grab this little eyedropper, and I'm going to click probably on the darker color over here. One thing that's important, if ever you have a screenshot that's not on your artboard, if it's partially on your artboard, it crops it because it thinks like you want it there. So it's going to crop it like that. But if you move something off the artboard completely, you can see the whole thing, so that can be handy. So let's jump in here and start designing. So I like this part, the why join Steam thing they have going on here with some bullet points trying to convince you to sign up. So I think it's good, but I think it's too far to the way. Like, we're focused here, and this is all the way over here. So I'm going to look at how we can link those together a little bit. And I think the best way to do it is I'm going to make a box like this and turn off the border on it, select it, and eyedrop it. And one way to get you have a color and you just want to use sort of variations of that color, I'm going to take my eyedropper and eyedrop it so they're the same color. and I'll click on my fill and just lighten it up a little bit. Of course, you can go a little bit darker. You can play around sort of in this spectrum, and it'll be a color that probably works pretty good, especially if you're just sticking with a whole bunch of blues or something like that. Not exactly a deep lesson in color theory right here, but a nice little thing that you can definitely use. So I think I'm just going to go with like something a little bit lighter, almost the opposite of what they're doing over here where they darkened everything on their menus. I'm going to lighten that up a little bit, just like that. And I'm going to take another box and overlap it something like this. Turn off the border. Oops, not the fill. Turn off the border. Once again, I'm going to eyedrop. Well, I'll drop this one, but this one's going to be a lot lighter. Let's go into like, we're getting into like a brighter blue, maybe something like that. Cool. I'm going to just command 1 to zoom in to 100%. All right. I think what we're going to do is I have this just off screen. I got this from their website. I just stole it. It's a PNG, but I'm just pasting it in now to make it a bit easier and speed that process up a bit. But yeah, just stole that from their site. So I'm going to bring that in here because I think it makes sense to have. And actually, let's just come in with the text that would be over here. So I'm going to take this Y join Steam, and I'm going to place that here just so it's a bit more linked with what the actions we're actually taking. I think it makes a little bit more sense, and I have all of that text. I already got it for us, so we don't have to do it again. I'm going to take my type tool here so you can select it, but you can also just push T, that's the shortcut for it. When you have your type tool, you can make sort of this infinite going on box like this. If you just click, or if you click and drag, you actually get a text box. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to paste my text in. And I'm going to select the, whoops. I'm going to make sure I have the whole text box selected. So you could come and actually like select your text. But if you just have the text selected, if you're in a text box and you push escape on your keyboard, it will just select the box. And then changing here will now change for everything. And I've got Motiva, which is I sort of like this font. I think it works well. For what we're doing, I got it on Adobe Fonts. It might be a premium one, so sorry if you can't follow along with that. I think we're going to go down to like an 18 on it. But I want to also show you how easy Adobe Fonts is now to use. So 18, I'm going to put some spacing underneath here too. I don't think I'm going to go with a bullet list. I think we're just going to go with sort of separate paragraphs. It'll be a list when we do it in code. For the color, I could come and just eyedrop this to stay consistent with their color scheme, but I think what I'm going to do instead is actually go with a white and then drop the opacity down, maybe to like a 75 to get the gray still, maybe a bit lower even. I don't want to go too low because you want to keep the contrast high enough, but 70 seems okay. So it pushes it towards gray, but it'll keep a little bit of the blue in there a little bit too, just because it's a lower opacity. And I think what we need is the title, which I didn't. So it's Y join Steam. That one I'm going to keep as uppercase text. So we'll take that, but I'm going to come over here and make this bold. And even they have other ones. Whoops. I have more weights than that if I want them. We go into the blacks and stuff, but I think I'll stick with bold. Actually, I just want to look at this a little bit. I'm using regular. What if I go with the light? Okay, and this would be a little bit bigger. So what I'm trying to do here is create a little bit more contrast between this and this. And when you're in a text box, it's going to show it at 100% opacity while you're working. And when you escape out, it goes back to the original colors here. And I think the one thing that's annoying, actually, can I, up? Yeah, the opacity is going to be for the entire box. So actually, it's kind of annoying, but I'm going to take this and put it in its own text up here. Motiva Saws, I said bold, and 24. Just because I think that the title actually standing out is a bit more important than the text underneath. And we'll line it up with the Steam logo, I guess, for now. And I almost feel like it would be make more sense to line it up with the text in the Steam logo. We'll see how that works out. Actually, this font, I literally didn't pick it to match, but I'm curious actually if this is the logo they used Pretty sure it is. That's just pure luck. I was looking through some of them and I'm like, oh, this looks like it would fit. And I think I nailed it on that one through random happenstance. It was one of the first ones that popped up under sans serif. Good choice on my part. Cool. Okay, so I think that will be good. One thing I am doing, I said I wanted to put proximity between here and here, but you'll notice I'm not like sticking this to here. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't leave enough white space or padding and stuff like that around stuff. They're related to each other, but they're definitely two different things. So I want to keep like a separation between the two of them there. Sorry for the rapid mouse movement. That's kind of annoying. I'll try and not do that too much. And I'm actually wondering if I should move this down to line up with the form after, but we'll see once we bring in some more content here. So the next thing I want is just a create your account type thing. So once again, I have that off screen. So there we go. This one I'm actually going to go with like the black now. We're getting into a lot of different weights, but I'm going to go with black, and I think I'll go with 32. So we get create your account, which will be nice and big and sort of in your face, but that's a little bit of what I'm after on this. These two should also have some letter spacing on them. Just in general, to make all cap text more readable, if you add some letter spacing, whoops, it can just help. It stretches the characters out a little bit. All cap text is going to be harder to read. So by adding a little bit of letter spacing, you're taking a bit of the crampness away from it, and it will make it a little bit easier to read again. Now, one thing I don't like here is all this crap. We get here and there's nothing really, we have this text here, but I actually found this on another page on their site, and I thought it made for much more interesting copy. And so I'm going to make a text box and I'm going to paste it in, and it's taking the last settings I've used. So I think it's time we come in here and I click on this, and I'm going to start saving character styles. So I want to save, why is there two different character styles in here? All of this should be you, and I can delete this one. Because then what I can do is I can click on this and click on that, whoops, click on this, and then click on that, and it matches the style we just had. So it makes it a little bit easier to use. So that all the spacing and everything will be the same, which is good. So yeah, I found this on another page on their site, and I'm like, well, why isn't this with your create an account? It's the ultimate entertainment platform. Play, connect, create, and more. It's free to join and easy to use. So to me, this just sort of made sense. That it would be, we can even make this black maybe to really make it, why wouldn't you be pushing this a little bit? And we'll drop this down to like 70. See, 70 is a little low there. That's getting low on contrast just for accessibility and stuff like that. We'll stick with 80. What would 80 do on here? If you have a text box select, you can just push 8 and it's going to jump it to 80. Or if I'd push 1, it'd drop it to 10. Nice little tip there. I think we'll go with 80 instead, just to keep, especially this is a lighter background, so we can't make it as light. Yeah, so I think that will work. I'm not sure if I want the paragraph spacing here, or maybe a bit smaller. We'll stick with that for now, and we'll maybe see. Now I want to get into the other stuff. So your email. So your email. Did they do email dashed or not dashed? Your email address. I don't want the whole thing. I just want your email. Let's do your email like that. I have a text box. I don't want it to be a text box. I can click and go back between the two styles here. So we'll do your email, except this one I'm going to go up to 100%. Does that sound out enough? I think it stands out enough. I'm thinking like, should it be bold or something, but I think it's going to be obvious enough what we're doing here. So then I'm going to take a box. Let's just make our little thing here. Let's take off our border. My fill is actually black. And once again, I'm going to play a little bit with opacity. Just to get our, there we go. Whoops. I like doing things like that, playing with opacity instead of just necessarily trying to find the perfect color, because it makes it a little bit easier sometimes in the long run. I'm going to sort of try and line it won't be perfect, but I'm going to try and line everything up. The original one had like all this information, and I find that it's annoying that it's all here, but I do think it's important to have stuff like that. So I think what we're going to do is have a little tooltip instead, which will make things a bit more interesting. So I'm going to come down here, zoom in a bit, and grab my ellipse tool, turn off the border, and we can eyedrop this even. And it's way too big. If you want to drag, if I push Alt on a PC or Option on a Mac and I click and drag on something, it will copy it. So it's going to be like a little tooltip box. Go to my layers and just drag that all the way on top. And line that right up in there. I'm actually going to make this bold because I think it's going to be lost if not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll change my mind on that. Bold, but what if I lower to like 50% opacity? Because I don't want it to stand out too much. Maybe on hover it would show up more. It should be something that's noticeable, but I don't want it to be like too much in your face type of thing. See already I don't really, I'm going to take the bold off of that. Go back to, I had the light for everything though. No, it's not too bad. It's sort of bugging me that it's off center. And if ever you have a text that you can't, oh, actually I think I just got it. Okay, I think that'll work actually. So we'll do something like that. It's gonna be a pseudo element that on hover has a pop-up. That might be kind of hard to do. I'm just trying to think of how I'm gonna do this on the code side too. Especially if it's not lining up perfectly. It could just be an image. You know, it would, one of those things that would be easier, like if we just shrunk it down, so it, maybe we'll do that. Could still be a pseudo element maybe. One thing, definitely zoom in to like do little design details. Go to 100% and like, would someone see that enough to click on? Should I bring that out here? No, it's terrible. It takes too much attention. Let's make it bigger again. That's too big. Okay, I'm gonna stick with it small. I'm a little worried it's too small now. Yeah, I'm gonna stop finicking around with it. I'm a little worried about the overall size. I'm gonna select both of them. You can right click and you can group, or you can do Control G. If you're on a Mac, that would be Command G. The advantage with that now is it selects really easily. So I think I'm just gonna stick with that and line it up just like that for now. Command 1. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty good. Cool. So one thing you can do is I'm going to select all three of these and I'm going to click on repeat grid. And what that does is it lets you like repeat the same thing over again, because I want email, password, re-enter password. I think we're going to do all three of those. So when you do this, like I have my grid, I'm just going to stop it here. If you need to space things out more too, like isn't that cool? I love that. So that's the little repeat grid, and you can ungroup a grid. So I made a grid, I can ungroup it, and now they're separate items. So that can be really handy. But the other thing is, even if it is like this, if I change this one, if I come up to like where this is, and I move it, it's going to move all of them because it's repeating the grid. But if I came in and just changed the text on this, it's only going to change the text on one of them. And I'm think if I move, no, yeah, if I move that. So I'm actually going to, now that I've made that, I will, the spacing's pretty good actually. I'm going to ungroup them because I'm going to delete, whoops. Let's go inside you and delete. Because this one's going to have to move because this is going to be password. So this will move this way a little bit. And I was just using the arrow keys there. If you have anything selected and use your arrow keys, it moves. You can move things around with your arrow keys for little adjustments, and shift and click around with your arrows to move them more. Like big adjustments is with shift. So password, that'll give us another little pop-up about like the security stuff they want. We need this little bit of text. Because we definitely want, people being the right age. We'll drop that back down to 80 like everything else. That's going to need a little box. So we're going to need a little checkbox for you. One thing, when I do code this, it's not going to be like a functioning form. It's just going to be, I'll be using all the right stuff, but I'm not going to make it actually work. Take the border. Actually, should we leave the border on that, but go with like the dark blue? It's too dark. What if we just came in and did like a little bit? Sometimes these little details are the things that can really make a design nice if it works well. And if it has no border, whoops, did I not turn it off? Off? I sort of like it more off actually. There we go. I'm running out of room and this is going to have to get taller, so we'll adjust our layout a little bit here. Because another thing I need, and I got this, the Google's thing here, so this is a PNG too. This is their dark theme one, I think. I can't read it here, so I really don't like what it looks like exactly, but this, it just gets inserted, so this would be the update compared to this, which I hate. So, you know, anytime you have to enter characters, I'd rather a ugly reCAPTCHA form type thing here. So we'll bring that in. And it's not like a perfect thing here just because it's a PNG that I found. I don't think I can crop the top. You know, I could go into Photoshop and crop that up a little bit, but whatever, it's fine. What if I just round the corners so it doesn't look terrible? Just to give you, we have those white edges sticking out, so just get rid of those. It's not. I won't actually put a round edge when I do it. I'll probably just bring that in as an image instead of. Anyway, we'll see what happens there. And now I want my button, so we're gonna turn off the border once again. And we're going to go with a nice neon green because, you know, they already went with something like that. I think it works well. It really grabs the attention. So why not stick with what they're having? I'm not going to take their green, but we'll go with a nice bright green color. And was it sign up now? I think that's what they used. So we're going to, whoops. We're going to go with sign up now. This will go back into the black. And I think I'm actually going to go... If I go into black, but once again we drop it to like, I think I'll do something like that. So the green color comes through on the black there. Did they do sign up now? Oh, I didn't even keep it in my screenshot. We'll say they did. We'll need something for this too, right? To like, please review. This I find is getting kind of lost. I'm going to select that and group it just so it stays together. Yeah, I'm going to line that up with this so the Steam logo sort of stands out on its own. That can go right there. Actually, I'm not sure if I like this exactly. 16. Why? How did I get to 16 all of a sudden? Oh, this is 16? You know what? That could be 16. Let's bring this up to like back up to 18. I'm going to select this box and select this box, and I'm going to come over here and center. Sign up now. I think that's fine for my sign up box. What if this was white, just for fun? It would have to be pure white though. I like the black better personally. I think I'm actually going to take both of those and shrink them down and zoom in on that a little because I don't want it to get lost. What size are we up to? 12. Let's go with 12, which is small, but and I'm going to push that up, and I'm going to do I agree to the terms and services. Isn't it like I have read and agree to, and then this could be a link. Oops, not the space. Come on. There we go. It's a little bit crowded down here. I almost like would rather have somehow to separate these a little bit, but oops, I'm going to grab those group. I don't want to do something like, well, because it's green and it stands out, but it almost looks like it's a choice now. Like, should I do this or should I do that? And I don't want that. I want it all to be living together. This could be narrowed up now though. I'm actually going to grab everything. Can I do this? And then shift click on the things I don't want. There we go. Just trying to increase the padding on that a little bit. Something like something like that. I can grab all of this, shift click, Command G to group this as one big thing. And I was actually going to have this be like the bigger box that does something like that. That was sort of what I had planned, but actually now, because this is smaller, I think something like that would probably be nicer, right? I think it doesn't even have to be centered in that, does it? Maybe centered would be good. So something like that could work out pretty good. What if this even stuck out this side a little bit? Yeah, I think that balances it off a little more. I like that a lot more. Then this can probably come up a little bit. And I feel like what we could do is actually come here and do like a... I'm going to change the color of this, so double click on that to get inside the group. And I'm going to change the fill. This one's going to become white. And it's going to say, I already have, or already have an account. That's on group. I just realized this is all part of a giant group now, which I don't want. Isn't that what it usually is? Already have an account? Because my button instantly pushing the limits, and I don't want it as like, I don't want it on 2 lines. What if it's just a link? I want it to stand out though, and you want it to be something that like people definitely see. What if it's not a button and I bring this down here, and maybe I just put it in white? I already have an account, and it's just obviously a link. Because I don't want to put it in green, because then it's fighting for attention also. This green could probably be a bit brighter actually. Let's boost that up just a scooch like that, so it's really, with the lighter background here, I think it'll work good. I find it's a little bit lost, but maybe people would see it enough. Why didn't I think of this? This could definitely come here. So this button could probably be a little bit smaller. I don't need it to match my CAPTCHA thing there. And then this could come into here, centered with it, but we don't need to keep this. This could come down back to light even. And the font size, I guess we could stick with... something like that could even work, because if you get, you look here, and then if you already have the account, you can just click over. I don't think it needs to be a massive font size. One thing I'm purposely doing here, if you're looking at it from a design perspective, is I'm trying not to have too many fonts, in the sense of I'm using light, I'm using bold, and I'm using black. I'm also not trying to have too many sizes. So I have this is sort of like my H1, create your account, H2, and then I have 18, 18, 18, 18, 18, and then these third ones which are falling into 12. If you're going to drop below 60 on the web, please have a reason for it. I'm just wondering, should I guess I can do something like that, which would make a bit more sense. I know I'm centered because I'm just waiting for these smart guides to pop up. Actually, I don't know for sure. I could select, okay, click this, whoops. So I have both of them, Command G to group them. So I have one group of stuff there, and then I select my big background here. I can come here and click that. So like you can see, I can choose how it lines up. So I know it's perfectly centered in that space. I think the last thing I'm gonna do is a little touch on this. I'm gonna select my background here. I'm gonna go into my fill. It took me a while to realize how to do gradients in XD, which I was just like, oh, they didn't give us gradients. That's, go figure, they don't have lots of features. Only to find out they did have gradients. It's here we have solid color, and then there's a little drop down to get to your linear gradient or radial. I find they could make it a little bit more obvious. I just never noticed it, that it was a drop down. So I'm going to hit my linear gradient, and one thing that's cool with it is they base the gradient on the colors you already have selected, which other Adobe software doesn't do. It would just go to black and white. So it kept my color here, and then it went to a darker version of it on its own, which is kind of nice. I can just select these points. You can see it's moving my gradient around, so I'll just, and it'll click, like, see how it'll lock to a corner as you snap to it, I should say. It's probably a little bit dark on the bottom, but something like that could look pretty sweet. Just add a little bit of something into it. Let's Command 1 that again. And this, I'm not a fan, but I like it. Maybe I'll get the light version of it and see if I like it better, but I think overall I am pretty happy with that. The only thing I'm going to try here, actually, my line height is really tight. I complained about line height before because of my space after on this. Command Shift G is to ungroup, so I'm just Command Shift G-ing everything to get rid of my groups. Because groups drive me a little bit crazy, except when I'm moving stuff around. So here, because I have space after, it's sort of acting as a line height on those. But here it's really, really tight. So I have that, but my line height, which is 21. So 21 on 18 is super tight. You always want to go with like a 1.5 at the minimum. Off the top of my head, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to start at almost like a 28 and just see what it looks like. It looks a little bit better. Yeah. Should I even try like a 32? Pushing it a little bit. I think I'll stick with 28 on there. I'm not going to be matching it exactly, but the idea there would be that it's not just super crunched together. Same thing here, actually. I'm actually going to... This is going to get taller and taller a little bit. We're going to grab all of this and move it up a scooch, just so I can spread some of this stuff. So I'm going to group that together too, and let's group that together too. Everything's sort of a little too smushed for my taste. So we can do something like that, maybe. This would look, if I didn't have that there, honestly, I'd be like super happy with just doing it just like that. But I do want to add a little sense of realism. Even this could be sort of like one group. So I'm trying to think on like a hierarchical level. I have this group of information up here. Once we get past this information, I sort of have this next section, which is really straightforward. Then I have these little checkboxes, legalese crap that we have to worry about. And then after that, we fall into the rest of it there. This shouldn't say your email. This should be re-enter password.
I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you like my design. Next week, we're going to be jumping over into the code side of things and coding this bad boy up. Before we do that, a special little treat for getting to the end of this video. We're going to do a little Adobe XD quick tip. So let's go and check that out.
So in Adobe XD, they enable smart guides by default, which means smart guides are these things that, like, see how I get these purple or pink lines that are showing up? What they're doing is they're trying to let me line things up. So if I want to line this up right in the middle, it sort of locks into place there. So it's centering with the square here, or I can center it there, or I can line it up on the side. And most of the time this is super handy because you do want things to line up with each other and you want things like that. But maybe you want something that's like a little bit off and you don't want to have to like select it and then move it with your keyboard because you just want to drag it where you need it to be. One way you can do that is when you have your selection going, the smart guides are automatically going to try and lock it into place. But if you hold Control on your keyboard or Command if you're on a Mac, those smart guides disappear and they don't show up anymore. And as soon as I let that go, you can see that it's locking back into place like that. So while most of the time this is really handy, every now and then if you need to get rid of it, again, it's Control or Command on the keyboard while you're dragging and those smart guides are gone.
And that's it for this week. Just want to give a big thank you to my patrons for helping support this channel. Thank you guys so much. A massive thank you to you just for watching this video all the way through. I'm glad you liked it. I'm assuming you did if you're at the end now. And if you haven't yet subscribed and you made it this far, consider hitting that little subscribe button down below the video. And until next time, don't forget to make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.